Hello and welcome. I'm Brandon Torres.
And I'm Michelle Morales, and this is the Pacific Coast News for the County of San Mateo.
It's Wednesday, November 6, 2013, and this is the news for the week. It was Election Day yesterday, and unfortunately, at the time of this broadcast, preliminary results weren't available, so we'll still just do a quick recap of the coastal elections. As we noted in our last broadcast, the most competitive elections are in the mid-coast, especially with the sanitary districts, where 6 candidates are competing for 3 seats in Granada and Montera. Let's begin with Granada Sanitary District election. Incumbents Gail Erickson, Leonard Warren, and Rick Lohman are trying to retain their seats. The challengers in this election are Mark Passon, David Seaton, and Charles Hall Sr. For the Montera Water and Sanitary District election, incumbent Bob Patachek is also trying to keep his spot on the board, while 5 challengers are competing for the remaining 2 seats. 2 of the challengers are Brandon Kwan and Ken Harvey. The remaining challengers are Darren Walker, Bill Huber, and Dwight Wilson.
Excuse me, Brandon, that was Jim Harvey, not Ken Harvey.
Thank you. For the Coast County Water District, incumbent Chris Mickelson is trying to retain his seat on the board as well, while Steve Flint and Charles Holzel are competing for the other available seat. The board that will remain unchallenged is the Coastside Fire Protection incumbents Harvey Rareback, Jenny McShane, and Gary Burke run unchallenged for this seat. This is McShane and Burke's second term, while Rareback began his first full term since he was elected as a result of April's recall election. Their terms end in 2017. Lastly, there are 5 candidates competing for the 4 available seats on the Mid-Coast County Council. The first 3 are Dave Olson, Chris Johnson, and Aaron Denzer. The remaining 2 are Joel Cano and Claude Wendell. Pacific Coast News would like to wish good luck to all the candidates.
Half Moon Bay didn't have any measures or board members to vote on, while Pacifica's big initiative was Measure V. Again, at the time of this recording, preliminary election results aren't available. Pacific Coast News will predict that Measure V is defeated.
Are you sure you want to do that?
Yes, I'll go out on a limb. I think if the city would have written the bill where the tax was enforced per billing address instead of per phone line, it would have passed.
Maybe.
We'll have to wait and see.
During the November 5th County Supervisor meeting, Supervisor Don Harsley reappointed Robert Marsh as the Agricultural Advisory Committee representing the category of farmer. He currently serves on the San Mateo County Farm Bureau Board of Directors. Marsh is a 4th-generation farmer who has owned his own farm since 1979. He previously served on the Agricultural Advisory Commission and has also served on the Half Moon Bay Volunteer Fire Department and Parisma San Gregorio County Council. His term will end in 2017. Also during the meeting, the Board of Supervisors passed the ordinance that would define the new district boundaries. The coast, for the most part, will remain unaffected. However, there are some slight differences with the inland district boundary. The new district boundaries will not affect this year's election. On November 20th, the San Mateo Local Agency Formation Commission will hold a public hearing at 3:30 p.m. to consider the reorganization of the Granada Sanitary District. The commission is encouraging the public to respond in person or writing if one is affected by the consideration. The County Controller, Bob Adler, released the San Mateo County Comprehensive Annual Financial Report for the fiscal year ending June 30th. It contains the county's complete financial statements as well as other financial information such as the local economy, the structure, the county government, and the county's future financial plans. All of the statements are audited by an independent certified public accountant. Some of the economic information is about unemployment. According to the report, as of June, the county has an estimated 21,700 unemployed residents. The county's unemployment rate was 5.4% in June, which is down 1.3% from 6.7% in June 2012, while the unemployment rate for California is 8.9% and 7.6% for the nation. The report also states that as of June, the San Mateo County has the second lowest unemployment rate. The report states the county's largest outstanding debt is lease revenues, bonds, which make up 92% of the county's debt. Here's a table of how the county spent money by the fraction. A quick review of the table shows that 40% of the county's budget was spent on public protection. The next highest expense, that was 26% of the county's budget, was on health and sanitation. The third highest expense, and is 20% of the budget, is public assistance. 9% is spent on general government, and 1% of the budget goes to recreation and capital outlay. Here's another chart on the county's revenue by source. Intergovernmental is 44% of the revenue, while taxes make up 42%. The next highest source at 9% is charges for services. Those are some of the items from the 190-page report.
Switching over to other news, there was a 2-alarm fire at 1176 Cervantes Way in Pacifica on November 3rd. The North County Fire Authority reported at 1:41 p.m. that 10 fire companies, 1 breathing support unit, 4 chiefs officers, and 1 fire investigator responded to the call. The arriving company reported flames coming from the back of the house with heavy black smoke coming from one of the vents off a 1-family home. All residents were able to evacuate safely. Firefighters made entry into the home and used hose lines to extinguish the fire and were able to contain it to the garage and front dining room area. Fire crews remained on the scene for 2 hours. There was no injuries to fire personnel or residents. 1 resident was displaced and received housing assistance through the American Red Cross. The North County Fire Authority wants to remind everyone the importance of checking the batteries in your home smoke alarms. Daylight saving time ended on Sunday, and that is also when the North County Fire Authority suggests to check your batteries in smoke and carbon monoxide detectors. They also suggest testing them once a month. The alarm will chirp if the battery is low. If so, be sure to replace the battery right away. Now let's take a look at some recent coastal crimes. On October 4th, the Pacifica Police Department observed a car driving without any headlights on. The patrol car signaled the car by flashing his high beams in hopes of getting the driver to turn on its lights. The driver didn't, so the police proceeded to pull over the car on the 2000 block of Palmetto at 11:50 p.m. As the car was being pulled over, the driver slid over to the passenger side, and once the car was stopped, ran out of the car. The Pacifica police ran after the driver and eventually caught up with him and had a brief struggle. One of the officers suffered lacerations to his face. Michael Browning of Pacifica was arrested for battery on a police officer, driving under a suspended license, and for being in possession of a controlled substance. The controlled substance were prescription pills, which he didn't have a prescription for. A car was reported stolen from Gateway Drive, Pacifica, on November 1st at 2:15 p.m. It was a 1991 Hyundai Accord, similar to the one shown here. The owner said he hadn't been outside for about a week and just noticed his car was missing. Then these circumstances sound like the makings of a Halloween horror film, since deputies arrested a transient for carrying a concealed dagger hanging from his neck on Halloween at 9:53 a.m. Deputies were alerted of a suspicious person on the block of 400 Parisma, Half Moon Bay. Sean DeCosta, 46, was found to have a double-bladed knife in a sheath hanging from his neck. DaCosta was arrested and was transported to the San Mateo County Jail. An excavator worth approximately $20,000 and other construction equipment was stolen from the 800 block of Frenchman's Creek Road in unincorporated San Mateo County, sometime between October 1st and October 24th. A man exposed himself to people inside an office on the 800 block of Airport Street, Moss Beach, on October 28th around 7:55 p.m. The man ran after being noticed. Deputies searched the area for the man but was unable to locate him. Deputies went to the 700 block of Stetson Street, Moss Beach, on October 29th at 9:50 p.m. to serve a felony warrant to Ryan DeCooper, 22, and found him and Robert Dunsmore, 33, of La Honda, and Charlene Reed, 24, Pacifica, in possession of hypodermic needles and drug paraphernalia and under the influence of a controlled substance. Reed also had a misdemeanor warrant. All three were arrested and were also transported to the San Mateo County Jail. It was a picture-perfect day for the San Mateo County Sheriff, who joined law enforcement agencies worldwide for the November 1st Tweet-a-thon. In response to followers' requests, there was a virtual ride-along with K9 Vodo. Here are some of the stops Vodo made while on his patrol. His first stops was visiting Farmer John, also known as Half Moon Bay Council member John Mueller. He also made a couple of other coastside stops, and again, it was a picture-perfect day at Point Montera Lighthouse. Deputy Rebecca Rosenblatt said that the sheriff received 60 more followers over the weekend and attribute it to this event.
Now moving on to the Coastal Crime Court update. Mark Furlan was in court on October 25th. Judge Barbara Mullock appointed another doctor to examine Furlan. The judge will review the doctor's report on December 12th. Furlan is charged with the death of Kenneth Coffey on October 17, 2012 at approximately 5:15 a.m. Pacifica police found Furlan trying to dispose of the body of Kenneth Coffey on Dell Road. Two tenants contacted police after fleeing the house at around 5:15 a.m. It's Pacifica's first homicide since 2000. Christina Manzetti of San Carlos is defending Furlan, and Deputy District Attorney Sean Gallagher is the prosecutor. Furlan remains in custody without bail. Richard Willis, the Daly City resident that was arrested on October 4th in Burlingame by both Pacifica and Burlingame Police Departments, was also in court on October 25th, where he entered a no guilty plea and denied all allegations and enhancements. Williams was arrested and charged with attempted murder for beating a 25-year-old San Bruno female resident whose identity is being withheld. On September 29th, at approximately 4:30 p.m., the Pacifica Police Department responded to a call of an assault that was occurring on the 300 block of Esplanade Avenue. Upon arrival, officers located the victim, who was beaten with a baseball bat and suffered from major head injuries, including the victim was transported to a local hospital. Pacifica police detectives assigned to the case were able to determine the incident stemmed from an ongoing dispute between Willis and the victim. Willis was charged with attempted murder, among other items, and if convicted of all charges, he will be prosecuted under the three strikes law. Willis has a history of priors dating back to 1995. Some of the charges are receiving stolen property, having a gun in a school zone. He has three felony convictions and 8 misdemeanor convictions. His next court date is on November 14th, where Judge Stephen Hall will be residing over the case. Charles Smith is Willis's attorney, and Megan Wilkins is prosecuting the case. Williams remains in custody at the San Mateo County Jail with a $750,000 bail. And
now a quick overview with coastal city governments and organizations. Pacifica's Planning Commission granted a 6th extension to the owners of the parcel of land located on the south side of Fassler Avenue and east of Roberts Road. The Planning Commission had granted a conditional use permit and site development permit for the development of a single-family home on October 15, 2007. The project was associated with the Harmony at 1 14-lot subdivision. On November 26, 2008, the owners asked for an extension for the permit since the access road hadn't been constructed yet. To this day, the road still has not been constructed, and the Planning Commission has given them until December 3, 2014 to use the permit. The Terra Water and Sanitary District Board regularly scheduled meeting for October 7th has been canceled. A public meeting will be held to discuss the Surfers Beach erosion on October 8th at the Oceano Hotel in the Montera Room, Princeton. The Army Corps of Engineers and the County Harbor District will give an update on the North Half Moon Bay Shoreline Improvement Project. The discussion will be on the steps needed to complete the initial planning process before going into the pre-construction design phase. The project could consider a range of solutions, including dredging sand from the harbor and creating openings in the jetty to create sand outflows. In addition, how a potential project to mitigate shore damage can be financed under the Continuing Authorities Program Section 111, which allots up to $5 million in federal funds. Pacifica's Economic Development Committee has also canceled their meeting scheduled for November 12th. A public meeting to discuss alternatives to widening Highway 1 in Pacifica will be held on November 13th at Sharp Park Library at 7 p.m. This meeting will give an overview and will be the chance to brainstorm team ideas. It is also in response to requests of how residents can volunteer for Pacificans for Highway 1 alternatives. After their last forum on October 9th, Pacificans for Scenic Coast also sponsored that forum. Both Pacificans for Highway 1 and Pacificans for Scenic Coast have filed lawsuits against the city of Pacifica and Caltrans in regards to the Highway 1 widening project. Here's one of the attorneys explaining why at the last forum.
And referencing figures which it says are purely conceptual and not to be used as official record. In their own final EIR, they're saying this is not a final EIR.
Again, that meeting will be on November 13th at Sharp Park Library at 7 p.m.
The county has posted bacteria warning signs at a few beaches and creeks since they have tested positive for high concentration indicator bacteria. These signs are posted to alert the public that there may be a risk of illness associated with swimming in contaminated waters and are an advisory rather than a quarantine or beach closure. Signs have been posted at the following beaches: Lindemar Beach in Pacifica, Capistrano Beach, and Outer Harbor Beach in El Granada, and Venice Beach in Half Moon Bay. The indicator bacteria include total coliform, E. coli, and intracoccosis. In addition, there are warning signs posted at these creeks: San Pedro Creek at Lindemar Beach in Pacifica, and Frenchman's Creek at the north end of Venice Beach in Half Moon Bay. Persons using recreational water posted by county health officials do so at their own risk. When high indicator bacteria levels are found, the site is posted with a warning sign and is retested to confirm the results. When swimming at ocean beaches with creeks that cross the beach, the county recommends to avoid recreational activity in the creek as well as in the ocean water in the immediate area of the creek. While the creek water may look calmer and safer to play in, it typically has higher bacteria counts than the ocean water. The county also suggests to avoid going in water during rainstorms. Swimming in areas close to urban streams and storm drain outlets should be avoided during and for up to 3 days after the end of a rainfall due to the increased levels of bacteria caused by rainfall runoff. The San Mateo County routinely tests 43 sites each week including ocean beaches, creek mouths, and bay lagoon beaches. If you are interested in volunteering to assist in the collection of samples from your favorite beaches, please contact Greg Smith of County Environmental Health by calling him at 372-6200. Again, that number is 372-6200. County staff will provide training and needed equipment and supplies for the sampling. Sites are sampled every Monday morning by a combination of county staff and volunteers, primarily associated with the local chapter of the Surfrider Foundation.
The San Mateo County Health System wants to remind residents that the flu season has begun. The first positive flu virus occurred in October, which is typically when the flu season begins. Hit it again. Hit it again. You have it to pause. Okay. We're having teleprompter problems again, so give us just a moment. The first positive flu virus occurred in October, which is typically when the flu season begins and peaks in late December and runs through March. San Mateo County health officials want to urge everyone that is 6 months and older to get a flu shot. It is especially important for certain groups to be vaccinated, such as pregnant women, children younger than 5, adults 50 years and older. People of any age with chronic medical conditions such as heart disease or diabetes, and people who live with or care for those at high risk for complications from the flu. People are encouraged to contact their healthcare provider to get their flu shot. The vaccine is also available at pharmacies, retail stores, and offered by some employers. For residents who don't have a healthcare provider or insurance, the health system and community organizations offer free flu vaccines at clinics throughout the county. No appointments are necessary for these clinics, and no ID is required. For more information on where to get your flu shot, visit www.smchealth.org/flu. The county released its weekly flu report, and it shows that so far, the county has fewer reports of the virus compared to last year. According to the county health system, the flu virus mutates from year to year, which is why it is important for people to get vaccinated every year. The flu vaccine is our best defense against the flu, said Dr. Scott Morrow, San Mateo County Health Officer. Flu vaccine is safe and can prevent flu-related illness, hospitalization, and even death. With the vaccine widely and easily available, there is no reason to wait to get vaccinated. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, 5 to 20% of the population gets the flu each year, resulting in more than 20,000 hospitalizations. Thousands of people die each year from flu complications.
In local sports this week, the Terra High School football team won their home game against Menlo Atherton High by a score of 57-27. The Tigers scored at least 2 touchdowns in each of the first 3 quarters of the game, and the Tigers quarterback, number 12, Anthony Gordon, a junior, completed 39 of 49 passes for a total of 303 yards, including 3 touchdown passes and 1 interception. Their running back, number 4, John Wallace, a senior, ran for 126 yards on 10 carries and scored 3 touchdowns. And number 31, Matt Sees, a senior, ran for 78 yards on 7 carries, and he scored 2 touchdowns. In this clip, we see quarterback Anthony Gordon, number 12, throwing the ball to wide receiver number 1, Chase Eddington, a junior for the last touchdown of the game. The defense also had a good showing with 7 sacks and 3 interceptions. With their win on November 1st, their record advanced to 8-0 and puts coach Bill Gray and his team in a tie for first place with only 2 games left in the season. Their next game will be against the team they're tied with, another 8-0 team, Sacred Heart Prep. With both teams' stats in all the major categories about even, it should be a close game next Friday night at Sacred Heart Prep. In other football news, the Half Moon Bay Cougars won their November 1st home game against Aragon High with a score of 32-27. Their next game will be against the Cappuccino Mustangs at Cappuccino. In other local news, the Body Glove Mavericks Invitational Surf Contest window is opened on November 1st, and the wait for the ideal surf conditions has started. The famous break is located about a half mile off Pillar Point. Event spokesman Jessica Banks told ABC Local News that waves higher than 30 feet need to break at regular intervals with good visibility and low winds. The contest could happen at any time between now and March 31st, and competitors are given 24 hours to arrive in San Mateo Coast once the contest is called.
And that's the news on the coast for this week. However, before we go, there are a couple of items Pacific Coast News needs to address.
We need to apologize to Tim Beeman of Miramar Events for calling him Tom.
We also need to apologize to Pacific firefighter and paramedic Bill Ferreira for calling him Firefighter Ferreria. Pacific Coast News is always in search of volunteers for Tuesday nights. If you're interested, please email us at pac_coast_news@yahoo.com. We're also always interested in receiving new tips, suggestions, videos, or feedback. So feel free to email us. Our next broadcast won't be until November 27th, so please be sure to tune in again. Then, good night.